She was an orphan, her heart as quiet and empty as the cobbled streets after nightfall. Loneliness was her closest companion, a shadow that clung to her even in the brightest daylight. Her only solace was a small, milky white crystal she wore around her neck, a dragon heart crystal, the last memento of the parents she never knew. One night, the sky tore itself open. A storm of legendary fury descended upon Ember Hollow, with rain like icy needles, but through the roar of the wind and the crack of lightning, Ellen heard something else. A sound that wasn't of this world, a cry filled with ancient pain, a sorrowful melody that seemed to pull at her very soul. It was a dragon's call. While others huddled by their hearths, praying for the storm to pass, Ellen felt an undeniable pull. This wasn't a sound of terror, it was a plea. She grabbed her worn cloak, the faint glow of her crystal lighting her way, and slipped out into the raging tempest. The journey felt endless, each step a battle against the wind and her own fear. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, she stumbled out of the dense woods and into a place she'd only heard of in hushed whispers, the Valley of Whispering Echoes. And there, she saw him. It was a sight so magnificent, so terrifyingly beautiful, it stole the breath from her lungs. A dragon, his scales shimmering like 1,000 shards of silver moonlight, even in the dim, stormy light. This was Aurelian. He was immense, a creature of myth and legend brought to life. But the magnificent beast was not free. Thick, black chains, etched with glowing, malevolent runes, bound him to the valley floor. The magic pulsed with a sickly green light, sizzling against his silver scales and suppressing his power. Each time he strained against his bonds, the runes flared, and his cry of pain echoed through the valley, the same cry that had called Ellen here. Her heart ached with a pity so profound it felt like her own. Suddenly, the clatter of armored feet and the harsh barking of orders shattered the solemn atmosphere. A group of men, clad in black iron armor adorned with a cruel-looking dragon skull emblem, emerged from the opposite side of the valley. Leading them was a man whose face was as hard and unforgiving as the mountains themselves. This was Lord Kale, a man whose hatred for dragons was as famous as his wealth. He was the most feared dragon hunter in the kingdom, and his eyes, cold and sharp, were fixed on the trapped Aurelian with a greedy, triumphant glint. He had finally cornered his ultimate prize. Well, well, Lord Kale's voice was a low sneer that cut through the wind. Look what we have here. The last of the great silver drakes. Your power will fetch a fine price, beast. His hunters fanned out, their crossbows aimed, their faces a mixture of fear and avarice. Ellen watched from the shadows, her small frame trembling not with fear for herself, but with a righteous anger she had never felt before. She saw the despair in Aurelian's intelligent, sapphire-blue eyes as he looked from Kale to his men. Then, somehow, his gaze found hers. In that shared look, she saw not a monster, but a soul in chains, a king dethroned and humiliated. In that moment, something inside Ellen shifted. The quiet, lonely orphan was gone, replaced by a girl fueled by a fierce, protective instinct. She stepped out from behind the rock, her small figure a stark contrast to the armored hunters. Lord Kale laughed, a harsh, grating sound. What's this? A stray kitten come to defend the lion. But his laughter died as he saw the object glowing on her chest. The dragon heart crystal was no longer pulsing with a faint warmth. It was blazing with an intense, pure white light, resonating with Aurelian's trapped spirit. Ellen knew, with a certainty that flowed from the very core of her being, what she had to do. She walked forward, her steps sure and steady, her eyes locked with Aurelian's. The hunters hesitated, unnerved by the strange, glowing girl. She reached the great dragon and placed her hand, the one holding the crystal, against the pulsing runic chains. "Be free," she whispered. A blinding flash of light erupted from the crystal, a wave of pure, untainted magic that slammed into the corrupted runes. The air crackled with energy, and with a sound like shattering glass, the magical chains disintegrated into dust, their dark power utterly broken. For the first time, Aurelian was free. He rose to his full, majestic height, his immense wings unfurling to block out the stormy sky. He was a creature of raw power and ancient fury. Lord Kale and his men scrambled back, their arrogance replaced by primal terror. They expected a whirlwind of fire and vengeance, a righteous inferno to consume them all, and Aurelian could have delivered it. He drew in a great breath, his throat glowing with the promise of dragonfire. The hunters cried out, shielding their faces, bracing for their end. But the fire never came. Instead, Aurelian turned his massive head and looked down at the small girl standing fearlessly before him. He saw not a human to be feared or hated, but the one who had answered his call, who had shown him courage and compassion when he had none left. He saw a kindred spirit. He lowered his head until his great sapphire eye was level with hers. The fury in his gaze was gone, replaced with a profound, ancient wisdom and something else, gratitude. He let out a soft, rumbling sound, not a roar of aggression, but a gentle purr of acknowledgement. Then, with a single powerful beat of his wings that sent the hunters tumbling, he launched himself into the sky, a silver comet soaring through the clearing storm clouds. Ellen stood in the now silent valley, watching until he was just a speck in the dawning light. Lord Kale and his men, humbled and defeated, retreated into the shadows, their legend of hate broken by a young girl's courage. The story of that night spread like wildfire. Ellen, the orphan girl who freed a dragon not with a sword, but with a heart full of compassion. She became the bridge, the first link in a new chain forged not of magic and fear, but of understanding and respect between humans and dragons. She was no longer Ellen, the lonely orphan. She was Ellen Dragonheart, a legend in her own right, her name whispered with reverence for generations to come. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic tales. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.